Hey everybody, welcome to Whiskey and Business. I'm Travis, this is Josh. And
Sup,
Josh,
sup?
what are we drinking?
So today we're drinking Old Forester 1920. It goes based off of like classic bourbons, right? And it's a little bit higher end. It's in the mid proof, about $60-$75 a bottle. Not that bad. But this is from the Whiskey Row series. This is my all-time favorite bourbon that I've ever had. So I thought it would be nice to have this in the episode 2. So we'll go and pour some, and then we'll talk about it at the end. This one has historically everybody kind of gets that oaky taste, and then it has like the red berry type of palate in the beginning, a little bit sweeter. But that 115 proof will definitely hit you and remind you that it's not necessarily too sweet. So, let's get into it, and we'll just review it at the end.
Yeah, and you aren't normally a bourbon guy, are you?
You know what? I like all. So I like rye, I like Scotch, and I like bourbon, right? But bourbon seems to be more pop. Like there's more stuff to choose from in terms of being mainstream that I've tasted. Because every time you go to, say, a place like a whiskey bar or whatever, they usually try to give you bourbon. And I tried Scotch, a really good Scotch the other day, and it was so good. So
yeah,
I think I'm leaning more towards Scotch now.
Oh,
so
well, we have lots of whiskeys to explore. So.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So today we're going to talk about SEO. So what SEO is basically search engine optimization. If for some of you that don't know what that stands for, it's basically organic reach, right? So whatever your business is showing up on Google, whether that's on your listing, whether that's even Apple Maps, Google Maps, whatever the case may be, anything local, anything organic, where they're just searching in a topic, searching in your type of business, you're coming up there first on the first 3 or 4 lines necessarily is good. But that's what SEO is. It's nothing paid. You're not paying Google or the platform or Apple or whatever to get you there. You're organically ranking based off of your authority of your website and all your information online.
And is that, so you said where it shows up on Google, is that mainly what SEO is, or is it through all of the internet? Because there are other search engines.
So it's omnipresence, right? So it's everywhere. It's not just Google. So Google's just it's the number one most wide. It's 90% of the market use Google, right? Apple pulls from Google for the most part. People download the Google Chrome app, all that good stuff. So Google's just widely known. Now then there's Bing, Yahoo, Yelp, Waze. There's other things that you can get on, but in terms of search engine, you're basically going to be with Safari or Google, and usually Safari just pulls from Google data anyways.
Yeah. From what I've heard, like some people, they think that SEO is all repetition. Like they think that the more they have out there, the higher their SEO will be. I feel like SEO is that magical unicorn phrase that everyone just says when they mean web presence.
Right.
So like,
right.
What do you tell your clients that are like, well, I have a Facebook and an Instagram and a Twitter,
right,
and I put it all out there. Now my SEO is going to be great,
Right.
Like, how do you explain to them there's a little bit more at play than just relevancy and, actually having a web presence? Yeah.
So that happens a lot, right? So what I get frustrated with is when people are used to the facade of having an SEO company, right? That usually they're paying about $100, $200 a month to, and they think, oh, he's handling my SEO. I don't know what he's exactly doing. He said he's doing something on my website. And normally, they just set up their Facebook page, their social media pages. They'll set up their GMB listing, Google My Business for the people that know the abbreviation. That's not widely known, GMB. Nobody says GMB, so except marketers, but so your GMB listing or then your other stuff, and then they just think they're good, but their SEO company that they hire, right, usually sets all that stuff up and then just kind of like doesn't do anything after that, right?
Right. Yeah, they get paid monthly to do it.
They get paid monthly to pretty much just stare at your listing wherever it's at. And that's just the one thing that frustrates me, because SEO is, there's so much that goes into it. It's not just the basic, put up your name here and you're going to get a bunch of traffic. It's just not the case.
Right.
You might get lucky here and there if you're one of the firsts in your area to get something, right? And then you just happen to rank up organically because you were the only one. Then you might have gotten lucky. But if there's a good competitor in your area, you're going to get taken over. But it just frustrates me that when people are comfortable paying the $100 to $200 range, they think that's SEO, a service. So when they hear my price, I'm like, oh, I got, if it's $750 up to $1,750 a month, they're like, what do you mean? Why would I pay that much when this guy was $200? I'm like, well, you realize there's a lot of hours that go into doing SEO, because it's not just that. There's backlinks, blogs, content, back-end work like meta descriptions, title tags, creating more pages on the website. There's off-page and on-page SEO for the most part. Your listing management, your Google My Business management. There's so much that goes into it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't just take like $200. That wouldn't even cover an hourly cost of what I do. Right? So what? I could work 15 minutes on your account, charge you $200, and call it a day, right? That'll be awesome for me. But I don't offer that just for the sake of the people, because I don't want people to come up with a bad review for me.
Right. Well, and I feel like there's so many people who stage themselves and set themselves up as SEO experts without fully realizing what SEO is. Like,
right.
Do you have any questions that you could pass along to our viewers and to people who might be looking for an SEO professional? Questions that they can ask those professionals if they're not using you. Say there's someone else somewhere else, and they need to know if that person actually is
doing the due diligence
in SEO.
Gotcha.
What questions can they ask, and what answers should they look for to know if that person actually knows what they're talking about? Like, can you give any recommendations?
Yeah, I can. And it also depends on what they're paying for, because some people do off page, some people do on.
Right.
So yeah, I would think so. If they're saying they're doing on page SEO, I would have them send you a XML roadmap, pretty much that what Google sends out. They should be submitting that for your website with Google Search Console. That's pretty standard. So they should be setting you up with a Google Search Console account, and ask them for the XML map for your website, which is pretty much just what Google's indexing your website at. Because once they're done with their SEO in the back end, right, like they're putting the meta descriptions, title tags, H1 is H6 headers, whatever the case, Google should be pulling that data right when you submit it. So after a couple days, you'll get your website will have, okay, this is your homepage, this is your about, this is your contact. So your structure should be there, and then Google should know what your structure is. That's number one, right? If your website's not indexing correctly, and Google thinks your homepage is your contact page, that's a problem, because they're not going to want to rank that unless somebody wants to contact you all the time. They're not going to discover you. So there's a lot that goes into that first initial, like when you get started with a company, that's the first thing they should be focusing on, is making sure you're indexable and you're indexing. For those of you who don't know, indexing means just Google is finding you and finding your page on your website. So that's the first thing. Ask them for the records of your Search Console account, Google Search Console, and then make sure you're able to log into it. Right? Make sure it's the client's account, not the marketer's account. You don't want them to have that. No. And then ask them for the indexing roadmap. It's a little bit easier to say that than XML. So the map that indexes your pages, ask them for that. And if they can send you that, usually it's just a string of your URLs. So example, it'll be like www.millermediaco.com/contact. That'll be your contact us page, and it should say all that stuff.
Right. And if they say, what do you mean? Then you've probably rooted out a person who might not be an SEO professional.
If they ask you, what do you mean, you run the other way immediately and never have contact with them again, because that's like the standard. That's like number one. Or else you're not doing SEO. You have to make sure you're indexable, right? Like you can't just throw yourself out there and start doing a bunch of random stuff that you found on YouTube.
Well, I feel like the knowledge of what SEO is lacking across the board. That someone can be a content creator who tries to use strategy to try and gain, like I said, awareness on the web and, overall exposure to their clients and say, oh yeah, I'm an SEO expert. I am making you appear online. But I don't think that they understand that it's two different job descriptions. You can be a content creator, you can be a marketer, but you can know nothing about SEO.
Right.
You should, but you may not.
SEO is so the problem is digital marketing companies think that they're not upfront with their clients. Like, that's the problem. So like, if I can't do something, I'll tell you, like, oh yeah, I can't guarantee that, whether it costs me the business or not. I'm not going to, fake my knowledge.
Absolutely.
Because that's going to bite me in the butt eventually. And then my reputation is going to go down the tubes. Because another question to piggyback on that is what you can ask, is ask them, have them structure your meta descriptions in your title tags and then send you a copy of what they put in there. So then when on a search result, when it's your business on the heading, on the link, that's that paragraph that's below you, that's your meta description. Your title tags are what the title of that link is. So if say you're a lawyer, it'll say Coeur d'Alene lawyer. That's like a title tag.
Right.
And then below it, it'll say, we are a law firm in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We have established blah, 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 blah. All right. That's your meta description. Have them send you what they actually put in for that. Because then you'll know in the back end, if you ever need to change that, you can do it yourself and request it. Say, hey, I want to change the meta description on the contact form to say this instead of this. Because normally they won't show you what they're writing. So therefore, either A, they might not do it because they think you can't even get into the back end of that stuff, right? It's usually kind of hard to figure out when you don't know the platform.
Right.
Or two, they're just doing really generic stuff. They're not actually putting in any keywords or sub-keywords. They're just putting in, contact us today, and that's your meta description.
Right.
Yeah, which kind of sucks. So
if
ask them for a roadmap.
For contact or us, you might just pop up.
You might just pop up. So yeah, that would be the other thing I would ask them. Hey, when you're done putting in the meta description, title tags, and then structure, can you send me a copy of what you've written in the back end? Because that'll give. And if they're all for it, then they might be reputable for doing that. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to be a great company if they answer that correctly and they send you the stuff.
Right.
I'm just saying they'll know the basics of putting that stuff in at least, because that's pretty basic.
Well, and then you're being an informed client. You're being a person who knows what they want and is holding your professional, accountable. You want to be informed. You don't want to just let it go, and you're not just going to get mad at them when it doesn't go the way you want. You are asking the right questions. And I think that's so important when picking any kind of professional.
Yeah, anything in marketing in general, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to go in blind. I've had many clients that just I'll start doing their marketing. They've had a marketing company before, and they didn't even know what they were doing. So I'd have to contact them and see, like, hey, what were you guys doing? I'm taking over all this stuff. I need the login information and access or whatever. Generally speaking, they're not doing much because some of them make the mistake of leaving their work there in the back ends of like maybe a Google Ads account or whatever the case, and I see that they've really not done anything. Or I log into the back end of the website and it says last logged in a year ago. That's always the best. I'm like, oh, nice,
And you guys were charging how much?
Yeah, you guys were charging $200 a month for not you haven't even logged in a year. So it happens, you know what I mean? And and so when you get into the when you sign with a company for SEO, you also want to make sure that you're going to get monthly reports or biweekly reports, whatever you set up. But the reports need to have tangible information that says what keywords you're ranking for, maybe the top 100. all of your listings that you're on, so business listings, usually they should be putting you on like 60 to 80 of those, like, just general business listings, like, Waze and even Siri and
Right.
Alexa and whatnot. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure you're on that, and then they actually send you in the report, it has that list of listings that you're on. And then within the keywords, have them like that report should be a pretty good broken down thing of like, hey, we've been focusing on these keywords that you're paying us for. So these keywords have, we've gotten one rank up or it stayed the same, or we need to push more. Like there should be a strategy behind that report, and they should be able to explain it to you, be like, hey, if you have a lower traffic month, that could be just because of the weather, or that could be something that happened, or just the area in general.
Yeah.
They look at the trends, like they know what they're talking about, but instead of just making excuses when every single month they see that they're not getting any traffic or nothing is going up in terms of their listings, because their keywords, they should show what position they're on. They
Right.
might have started at 70, so they should be getting up a little bit, ways of, like if they set up everything correctly, that 70 should turn into like 30 pretty quickly,
Right.
and then like up and above to the top 10s. But if you see that just staying there and it's a top keyword in your industry, there's a problem. They're not really doing anything. You're paying for a report just to show you that you're not doing
anything.
anything.
That they're doing something should improve it more than you having not done anything at all.
Right. And it does take a
Right.
little bit of time. I'm not saying it's like overnight. SEO is a longer game, but it's a necessary, thing to do. It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's nothing to write off just because it's a longer strategy. People want, obviously business owners want the instant gratification of the ROI. That's where you go into paid advertising. You let that
Right.
you let paid advertising handle that, and then you piggyback with your SEO. So then you're forcing, Google to rank you number one on keywords for paid, but your SEO is just going to help dramatically, because at the end of the day, you don't want to have to pay for those keywords all the time.
Right.
You want to just rank organically for them, especially taking like higher end keywords that have like $1,000 to $2,000 or 2,000 people a day or a month, searching for it, depending on what you're in. So just make sure the company sends you good reports and they can back up the statistics of what they're doing. That's super important because and if their reports, I'm telling you this right now, if their reports are too confusing, they're lying to you. Because I use SEMrush, right? SEMrush is a very well-known marketing tool for SEO. It's very expensive, but it's expensive because it simplifies the process of me having to track all this stuff anyways. But even before using that, my reports were pretty easy to manage and read, and I explained what they were. Normally, what a company will do, they'll send you reports that just have a ton of mumbo jumbo just to confuse you, so then they can say their talking points of what they want, and you don't actually see what's going on. That's where you want to run away.
Right.
Your marketing company should pretty much be super transparent for everything you're doing. You shouldn't be in the dark. So yeah, that's what I ask.
I think that sounds like a good strategy. Communication. They're telling you what they actually are doing.
Yeah. Communication is not common
with words that no one would understand. By
Right.
just throwing them out there and trying to seem smart.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sounds a little shady to me.
Yeah, but I'm sure you've seen that in the industry. That's pretty standard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people who just talk out their ass like, hey, this is all...
Yep.
But you're like, I don't think you actually know what you're talking about. That sounds...
Yeah.
But then you meet someone who's actually knowledgeable and you're like, oh, this is actually interesting. I'm learning by talking with you about what it is,
Exactly.
Or this person sounds down to earth, but also very knowledgeable and isn't just trying to like make themselves seem bigger than they are.
Right. Well, most marketing companies do that, right?
Right.
In terms of SEO, when they're trying to sell SEO, they sell you a pipe dream with a low cost.
Right.
And not the low cost is because they can turn and burn thousands of those types of customers. They don't need your money at that point. Once they get that initial sale, they don't need you.
No. And there's a difference between confidence and knowing what you can do and just blowing smoke up people's asses.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's huge different. There's a huge difference. I wanted to ask you though, do you have any like fun SEO stories, like an SEO account that you managed that where something weird happened, like crazy change just from the way you were doing it?
Yeah, you know what? So I have a client. Shout out Hayden Furniture Depot. They know that this is the story I always tell. They're my best testimonial in terms of SEO, because SEOs, every client that I have that they start going up in the rankings pretty quickly, and because I know what I'm doing, but for some reason, for Hayden Furniture Depot, like, this area is pretty wide open in terms of SEO. If you have a company and you start doing a SEO correctly, anywhere out here, you're going to take over your market pretty quickly. I mean, there's not a lot of competition because there's not a lot of companies doing it correctly out here, right? They just kind of put their stuff up and then hope for the best.
That and every other form of marketing.
Yeah, exactly. So when I started with the SEO with them, there was like all the competitor furniture stores, right? And then so I have this little diagram, and it has all these little bubbles of like all the competitors, and then it'll say it'll point to you on the map, and that's determining of who's being who's visible more or not, right? And on that map, Wayfair was like always at like the number one top. Nobody can beat Wayfair out here. Costco was like right here, like just stuff that like super mainstream sites, super mainstream companies that you're just like, you don't even look at that point. Like I don't compete with those because they're online for the most part. And they're very, they're multi-billion-dollar companies. So I always focus.
They pay for SEO.
Yeah. Well, they just organically get it, bro. Like they got enough people come to their site. So
right.
I always focus on the small business stuff, right? Like when I'm doing the SEO for small business, focus on their smaller competitors. When I say small, I'm not saying they're not making money. I'm just saying, it's not a fucking Costco, So and it was funny, after about 6 months, 7 months ish, I go do my report, and this is when I redid their website, and I put like 20,000 products on their website. It was all from the vendors that they use and whatnot. People can see the prices and order it online. So that was a big task. But the moment I did that, the next month, they started surpassing Wayfair, and they still are to this day. Damn. They're the number one furniture company in terms of SEO rankings in this area, all the way until Spokane Valley.
Wow, that's huge.
Within a matter of 7 months ish that it took. Now we're just solidifying their list, their rankings to where it's like set in stone.
Yeah, and then like when you get to that point, if the patterns follow through, it starts becoming organic, right?
Yeah,
because I've noticed like say for like Instagram followers, huge difference, but when you reach a certain point, suddenly it just builds on its own. It's not just the content driven or any strategy. It just kind of grows in the organic reach. So SEO is kind of the same when you get to that point.
Yes, you start getting the traffic.
Yeah.
So that's it. Because like we would be in Post Falls, and sometimes during out the day you'd type in couch and they'd be number one.
Wow.
You just type in couch, bloop, Hayden Furniture Depot.
Nice.
We have couches, you know what I mean? So that story right there, like obviously a lot of my business, like my clients don't have 20,000 products to take advantage of on their website. So they're not going to see that type of result really quickly like that. But like things like, that's one thing that really we wanted to push because I knew it would help. Having more content on your website helps dramatically, but when you go from, having a normal website has like maybe 11, 12 pages on it, to 20,000 pages on your website, Google's like, holy shit, like what do it starts indexing everything.
Starts to try and figure that site out, take it apart.
So that was always the best story that I have for SEO. Every time I do a testimony, like when I talk to somebody about SEO, I always try to mention that in there just because it is something that like did help. It helps them tremendously. Like their website has brought them in countless leads and sales, whereas before we started, their website was not great, and it wasn't built properly, and it was broken like on the homepage, and everything was kind of wonky, and there wasn't many products on there. So when I got in there and fixed it all, And then we started doing everything. And then so they've been my client for about 2 years and a little bit over 2 years now. And been just, striving ever since. And man, they're booming.
That's so awesome.
So that's a good story that I always like to tell for SEO in general.
Yeah. What would, so if a person isn't ready, they're just not ready to hire an SEO professional, what good habits can they get into on the things they're managing themselves? Say it's a small business owner, they just are not able to hire an SEO professional yet.
Right.
Maybe they're thinking about marketing or they're doing some paid marketing, but what would you recommend they do, or maybe even not do at this point as they're managing, say, their Wix site or whatever they're doing on their own? These are the things they shouldn't be doing right now because it'll screw it up for an SEO guy later. Or these are the things they should start doing so it's an easier transition to coming to that next level of business.
Okay.
Is there a recommendation you can give for that?
Yeah, 100%. So the best thing I could say is manage your Google listing every single day. So Google had a big update almost a year ago where they want people to use the listing more than the people's websites for general service-based stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And so in order to do that, they have to combat things like Yelp and things, like all their big review sites. So what they did was they started indexing keywords on reviews as SEO, whereas your reviews used to not really matter. Mm-hmm. Now your review keywords matter. So now instead of just trying to get those reviews, now you got to kind of coach your reviewees or whatever to say, hey, can you just mention the service that you were provided because those keywords. So, and also posting pictures, posting videos, posting updates, posting offers, So it's almost like they turned it into a social media for business listings. And so, and those are all kind of like newer features. So they really reward companies for using them.
Which was the best thing for business Google has done in so long.
Yeah.
Like they took the L for Google Plus or Google.
Yeah.
What was it? Google Plus?
It was Google Plus.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They
that
took
was
the
so
L.
bad.
They took the L. I remember I used to force myself to make a Google Plus listing just because I knew that Google would be
happy.
And
you gotta suck on the teat of Google when you're a marketer, bro.
My business, Google My Business, the best thing they've done since they bought YouTube or something. I don't know, but it's so good.
Yeah,
so much better than Google Plus.
Yeah, they scrapped Google Plus and realized maybe we should start focusing all of the social aspect of businesses within the actual listing, since that platform is already widely adopted.
You're posting straight onto Google.
You're just posting straight onto Google now.
Insane. It's
amazing. And they're also coming out with stories. So you're going to have Google listing stories. So a business will have to keep up with 15-second little clips and stories on their Google listing now. So using something like Hootsuite or something that's like a scheduler will help you kind of manage all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So then you can post on all the socials as well as Google every single day, schedule it out or whatever. But for the most part, yeah, that's so if you're really bootstrapping it and you can't really afford an SEO company, do not. If you cannot afford real SEO, do not go and get something that's $100 a month and think you're doing it. Do it yourself at that point. You're going to waste more money paying somebody $100, $200 a month to do your SEO than you would of your time you would take to do it every day to manage it. It doesn't even have to be every day. Like, at least do it every other day or go on a weekend and just kind of sit on your computer for a while, whatever. Yeah. But manage your Google listing. So that's what I would do. So make sure every single thing on your listing is filled in, no matter if it pertains to you or not. Put something in there. Just so there's nothing left out. Do your FAQs, get some more reviews going, post pictures and videos every day on that listing, and make sure there's an appointment button, like it's set up for your phone number or a landing page to get an appointment. If you can just manage your Google listing now, you can do better than 90% of those businesses in your area that aren't doing it.
To reiterate, do not spend money on fake SEO.
Yeah, don't. Please.
Manage your Google listing, wait, and then pay an SEO professional who's real. Real.
Or get really good at SEO and do it yourself for the longest time, whatever the case. But yeah, don't have anybody do it blindly, and don't if they tell you it's $200 a month, you know that it's not going to do you justice. Because at the end of the day, I mean, who would want to be paid $200 a month and think they're going to get a high quality service, right?
Right.
Like realistically think about that. Say you posted a job listing on Facebook and said, "I'm hiring $200 a month, and I expect you to get my business to make money."
Who would respond to that?
Yeah, who would do it?
Right.
You wouldn't get any high quality people.
And the only way they'd make a livable income is if they had about 50 other clients that they're promising their same attention to.
Exactly.
And how are they going to manage 50 clients at the level that you need to be managed with how much time it actually takes? It doesn't doesn't make sense if you apply the math to it. So it's like, so take it from him, take it from me, save and wait, do what you can in the meantime, but then get an SEO professional there. Don't throw away your money on someone who is honeypotting you.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, because that's literally all it is.
Absolutely.
That is true. Cheers to that one. It is literally, it is honeypotting. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's what it is. It's basically like, so if you fall into that, like, I mean, by all means, a lot of people do. I'm not saying like you're wrong for doing it. I'm just saying because they do scare tactics, or they do talking points. Like,
I'm sure they do some work, but
it's all sales. Like, they're just selling you. Like, that's their business model, is just sales. They're not getting you results. And if they do get you results, usually it's not the correct way. So Google's going to slap you on the wrist later on down the road. Just do it yourself. Do some research. Start with your Google listing, and then start creating listings on all these other sites like Siri. Get it on Siri, Alexa, Apple Maps, Waze. Just create your own listings. You know what I mean? Like, create an account on Waze and then say, "Hey, I have a listing." Click. Okay, type it in. Boom. Now I'm on Waze. Go to Apple Maps. Okay, create an account. Boom. This is my listing. Here, I want it on here. Just kind of start slow.
The only time I would ever consider recommending someone even entertain paying that much for SEO is if you can tell they're a brand new company and they're building their portfolio, in which case they need to ask the questions that you said earlier.
Yeah, right.
You need to make sure that person, like, if they want to fuss around and use your business as an experiment,
right?
They can, because they are learning and building their company.
True.
Maybe they don't know yet, or they are learning, but that's why you need to be an informed client.
You need to get that out of them, because for a fact they're going to be nervous.
Sure, they're going to be doing their work, and you need their transparency and honesty, because if you are, it's like you're talking to your lawyer when you're talking to your marketing professional.
Yeah.
If they're lying to you and they're not completely honest about what their capabilities are, and their story and what their buildup is, then that's a slippery slope, and you're the one who's going to pay the price.
Right. Yeah, because I have done that. When I started out, dude, I was charging dirt cheap prices for the stuff I was doing. But the difference was I was up front with the people saying, "Hey, I'm just getting into this industry." And, man, I've been doing marketing for almost 9 years. So, I mean, when I was trying to get business, I was like, "Hey, I'm just trying to learn this stuff. I have a good idea of what to do. I've learned from, like, really reputable people." And they would give me some good money. I mean, I would ask them for, like, I'd be like, "Yeah, let me get $100 a month just to give me something, like, whatever." They'd usually throw me a few hundred, just because I was really upfront with them and be like, "Hey, I just want to learn, and I'm going to give you a really great deal. And pretty much I just need you as a testimonial at this point."
Yeah.
And people love that. If you're starting in a marketing company, that is the best thing you can do. Either do it for free or negotiate a super, super, super low price just to get you by, that you can, like, experiment with their money. Because at the end of the day, you're learning off of somebody else's money. So be upfront with them, and then the client itself, and if they're not being upfront with you, they should be vetting the marketing company, whether that's getting a referral from somebody that's already had a good experience that's vetting.
Yeah.
But if they haven't had that, then yeah, they got to ask some serious questions to make sure that they're not getting smoozed over by the millennial that wants to make millions of dollars and drive a Lamborghini becoming a digital marketer.
Right.
Or it's an actual real person that loves marketing but is just starting out. That's okay too. Generally speaking, they'll be honest with you. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's important to draw the distinction. If they're honest with you and the price is low, you may not be making a mistake, but know where your money's going towards. You are funding their homegrown internship, basically, as they learn.
So don't expect like $1 million in results for the month.
There's not anything wrong with that. But also, if you have someone asking for that same price, the very low price, promising the world, over-promising, saying they are the head honcho of SEO, then be aware you may be, throwing your money into a garbage can.
Yeah. Yeah. So for sure. Like that's literally what you're doing. You're lighting a fire on that $100 bills. And you know what? And SEO is messy. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much information out there. So it's hard for me to explain it to a client that's been screwed. There's a lot.
Well, their guard is already up. They're expecting any knowledgeable talk on SEO is like.
Yeah, I've heard this before already.
SEO, you mean BS?
Right. Like my other guy said the same thing and nothing happened. That's usually, but they're not upfront with them. You know what I mean? Like SEO is not a get rich quick type of marketing. It's just not.
You're building a foundation.
You're building your foundation. You're basically like, if you take the pyramids of Giza or whatever, you still need that bottom level. That's SEO. But if you want to like just blow past all, make the money to pay for building your foundation, you go to paid advertising. You go to other things that make you money right away. You don't rely on SEO to make you millions of dollars right off the bat.
SEO is not marketing.
Now, when you get solidified,
paid marketing,
it will skyrocket your business because then your organic traffic will go through the roof when you are solidified. It takes about, I would say, 6 months to a year to get like a good substantial boost of your traffic. It is an investment, but at the end of the day, that investment with a reputable company will get you the results you're looking for. And they're all, I'm upfront with everybody with that.
Too. Yeah, you're not running a sale. You are now placing yourself right in front of everybody.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, I tell people that all the time before they pay me. I'm like, hey, so usually they ask me like, what can you guarantee in results? I'm like, I can't. Like, what do you mean you can't guarantee results? I'm like, well, all the other companies that you've probably talked to guaranteed you results. That's going to nip them in the butt. I don't want to be nipped in the butt. I don't want a bad review. I want to be upfront. So I would say, listen, I can't guarantee you results with SEO in like the beginning. I can guarantee you results with SEO within the first year. Always I can guarantee that. But if they're like, oh, in the first couple months, what should I expect? Like
nothing.
I can't guarantee that. Like I don't even know. Like you know what I mean? We have to get started here, and but anything we do is going to help. It's just this isn't paid advertising,
right?
Like if you want to
running a fire sale,
if you want to make your ROI, like if you want to make money back, do paid advertising. Like, and then while you're doing your SEO, don't go like, oh, I want to just do SEO and.
Which we can help you with, by the way.
Well, yeah, if you go to millermedia.com or Pulse Productions, feel free to reach out to us. Little infomercial
both at the same time. Oh my god!
Little infomercial. Little put something up here, just like as an infomercial just graphic.
All of the different text pops up.
No, but in all serious, like I mean, SEO is scary. It's not a get rich quick thing. It's not going to skyrocket your business within the first 6 months or so. But it is a necessary evil. You need it. And it's only going to get worse, especially how voice is going. That's the last topic I want to talk about is voice. Nobody understands that voice is 40% of the search traffic. Did you know that?
I think you've said it before. I didn't.
So people talk to their devices 40% of the time to find somewhere to go. Who's going to recommend your business on voice?
Siri.
Right. Or Alexa. Those two platforms right there, if you were not ranked on those, or if you don't have a high authority on your SEO, they're not going to rank you. They're not going to recommend your business. So if I say, hey Siri, I want a chiropractor, who are they going to go to? The guy that invested his money into the SEO, because they're going to go to that authority site. The algorithm is inclined to go to the number one authority site in their area based off their location. So that's what I'm saying, why it's so important, because 40% of the market is using voice. Imagine what 5 years down the line is going to be in voice, where most people won't type in or look at their screen for things. They're going to rely on their car to just take them to a freaking chiropractor.
Right. It's a completely unbiased, this is the top recommendation without any consideration for anything else.
Nope.
It will straight up just say this.
Yep.
So
yeah, it doesn't tell you the reviews.
How do you get it to say you?
Right. Being on the top.
Laying the groundwork.
Yeah.
Having all of the SEO built out.
Yep.
So
appeasing to the platforms. You don't even need to be number one ranked to get Siri or Alexa to recommend you. You just need to check all the boxes that the algorithm checks for to recommend it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's that simple. But like, that's something super overlooked here. When somebody says SEO, no one's thinking about voice. And I'm like, that's going to be the most important aspect. That's the future of search. You're not going to, people aren't going to want to type. People don't even sit on a website for 3 seconds anymore if it doesn't load.
Right.
Like,
attention span of goldfish.
Yeah, people scroll on their feed. Takes them like 2 seconds to see a photo and get it like uninterested. Whereas now people can just be like, their Google Homes, their Rings, their smart devices that like go anywhere with them, their cars, any command, and Siri and Alexa, they're talking to their device. Hey Siri, take me to a place I could buy a washer machine. Bling. Who's gonna pop up? Or like, hey Siri, I need a plumber. Pshing. I found this. Do you want me to call them? Yes. Okay. Psh. Like, there's no, like, that's where it's at. So having that be 40% of the market right now is staggering. So if you think 1,000 people search for your stuff, 40% of those people, so what? 400 search results are from search that you weren't on at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that's what frustrates me about SEO. When I talk to people that like kind of balk at me when they hear my price, because I'm upfront with my price. Yeah, my starter package is $750 a month. I mean, I put in work. Yeah. Right. You're not going to get the end all be all with that package. And then my second package is $1,750. Then they're like, I don't even know. You're crazy, bro. I'm like, yeah, right. Like a $1,750 package, that's a fucking steal, because at the end of the day, in a year, you're going to be ranked number one, and you're going to be on all the devices for that price. So what? You spent almost $20,000-$30,000 for the year, but you made back $100,000 to $200,000.
Right, and then you'll have Siri on speed dial.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's just what frustrates me, like, because there's a lot that goes into SEO, and when people are like, yeah, I'm used to paying $100 to $200 a month in SEO, it's like, well, then, do it yourself. Yeah. Like, don't hire a company to do it, because it takes me hours of work to figure this out for you. I don't charge by the hour. Yeah. If I did, shoot, you'd...
Well, and I think an important thing for
I'd make millions if I was charged by the hour, bro. What the heck?
We need to say that this voice search SEO problem, or the thing that's emerging, North Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, this whole Northwest area, our time warp is not exempt from it. Just because Twitter isn't happening up here, people, the consumer, they're using their phones and all of their phones' features, just like everyone in Los Angeles.
Right. Exactly.
So we are not exempt from the fear or the realization that good SEO will put you into a high-ranking area with all of these voice-assisted assistances.
Oh, dude, there's so many devices that have it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm getting phone scams now saying, you want to be added to the Alexa directory. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, they know I run a business. If the phone scammers are already trying to pitch me on it, it probably is something that we should also pay attention to from the real professionals like SEO.
You want to know a secret? So this is just a component of SEO. It doesn't necessarily do much besides list your business. But you know how like you get those listing services and they charge you like $200 a month to have your business listed on like 60 to 80 platforms.
Yeah.
And that's like a service that somebody provides. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That costs $15 a month to do, to have it managed.
Wow.
Did you know that?
So then they make a pretty good profit when you could just manage it yourself.
So to everybody listening that's a business owner, if somebody's selling you listing services and they're charging you more than $15 a month, you know what? If they're charging you $50, they're making a profit, you're not doing it, I'd say that. But if they're charging you over $100, you're getting scammed. They're scam artists. Listing your business on Yellow Pages and all these other like local forums, it costs so cheap to do. Like with me, I do listings, but then I also track heat maps, and I track like keywords depending on area. So I go a little bit further in depth with my listing management, but I don't add that to the charge. It's just a component of what I do, and it comes in my reports.
The overall SEO Google Maps like ranking.
Yes. So if I was charging you listing management, I'd probably just have you pay for cost.
Right.
Because then at that point, like, what is $20 extra going to net me? Mm-hmm. It doesn't even cost for this bottle of whiskey. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to scam anybody, but like people do that. So that's just a little secret that I found interesting that people do. Like,
and there's a lot of companies out there that do that.
Yeah.
Like it's its own industry, but at the same time, you have to recognize the value differentiation of someone who has to put in a lot of work that is probably already doing the listing thing with everything else that's part of an SEO service, but they're taking the foam off the top and like, we'll do this.
Yeah, charging an extra price for it. Yeah,
the other SEO professionals would do. So be aware, be smart. We don't want you guys to get screwed.
Right.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, and it is funny, dude. Like people that do listing managements as a service, or review management as a service, or even social media management. Like I hate that people charge that. So in terms of SEO, social media, we didn't talk about this. So social media is omnipresence. It actually helps your SEO with backlinks. Mm-hmm. So when you're linking to your website on social media, it's considered a backlink. So it's ranking your website as an authority site because you have multiple backlinks on your website. So Google indexes social media content. Mm-hmm. So social media is super important for your SEO because it's a free listing.
Yeah.
Your address is on there. Your business hours are on there. Your reviews, you have Facebook and Instagram or whatever reviews. Well, not Instagram reviews, but Facebook reviews. Mm-hmm. You're there. YouTube, you put in the About Us, category. That's another listing. It's just free listing, but then the content drives traffic to your website, which then Google sees, okay, so this person is driving traffic with their social media, therefore people like this business. I should rank it higher. So when you're on social media more and you're consistent, your SEO gets better and better and better and better just based off of that alone. Because when you're consistent on social media, you're going to get more traffic. People are going to know about you. And that could be SEO because each platform has its own search engine.
Oh, yeah.
You go on Facebook, you type in marketing, or you type in any service. So type in carpet cleaning or whatever. You're going to find a business in carpet cleaning. Yeah. Same thing with YouTube, carpet cleaning, and CDA, whatever.
Well, I think everything helps. Everything really does. Like when I started Pulse Productions, I created the website Pulse CDA. And then I set up all of my socials to be Pulse CDA. And then
nice.
And then for 6 years straight, every post every other day on all the socials had hashtag Pulse CDA. So this one phrase for 6 years was pushed through every social media. Probably a lot more work than I needed to do if I had actually known what I was doing. But at the time when I was very first starting, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was just like, I'll just keep it going. But that specific phrase, if you go onto Google and just type in Pulse CDA with no context or with the hashtag, It's like 5 pages of selfies and crap I've done
Nice.
for the last 6 years, just because there's just so much repetition.
That's funny.
Across every platform of just that one phrase that means nothing to anyone else, but happens to be my website and everything I've ever done.
Wow. Okay.
And that's one way to do organic,
That is.
long term.
That is true.
You know, it was very long term, but I was just like, well,
But it worked.
I figured if I'm throwing it out there, someone's going to see it.
Right.
And then, 6 years later, it helped.
Right.
It certainly helped.
That's awesome, dude. Wow. My voice cracked. Holy moly.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like a little kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that's freaking sick, dude. Yeah, whatever, dude. I blame it on the bourbon. But yeah, like 100%. I mean, anything you do, it's just gonna help you. So if you can't afford like a full-fledged SEO company, or marketing company in general, I would 100% just do it yourself. There's so much you can do. Social media, Google listings, whatever the case may be, just do something. One little baby step is better than, trying to take that giant leap and then a year or two passes before you even do it.
I feel like
Whereas if you just take baby steps, you would have been like miles ahead than where you were at.
Yeah. I feel like 90% of our podcast episodes are going to be just do something.
Just one thing.
Please. As you and I have both been beating our heads against the wall.
Either pay for it or do it yourself.
Just do something, please.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that's like literally all it is don't just sit there and talk about it. Actually just take action, do something. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you're not doing anything, you're just... Have you ever heard, so funny story, how has the phrase, like when you hear this, what does it make you feel like? I don't need marketing, I have referrals.
It's
when you're dealing with a service-based or a product or a restaurant.
Well, I applaud their ability to have people actually like their experience.
Right.
But they are not building towards the future.
Right.
They are not building a foundation, because the second something cooler or their attention span gets pulled somewhere else, those referrals will go away once a competitor starts doing the right things.
Right.
Or has the same, if not better, service. If someone else is doing the exact same quality, but then also is doing marketing, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes to replace your favorite barber shop, to replace your favorite hardware store, to replace your favorite whatever. All it takes is for them to do just about the same amount of work with marketing.
Yep.
It just changes everything.
I'm glad you have the same perspective, because literally, so I'm not saying this for like businesses like ours, like we're B2B. B2B is a little bit different. It is a referral based and handshake business. Oh yeah. But when I'm saying B2C, and you're like, oh, you know what? I don't do marketing because, people just know us. I'm like, There's almost like an aspect of like when they deny me for that reason. Like, I'm okay with people not using me as a service. Like, I'm okay.
Right.
But there's like the sense of like, I'm going to find a competitor that will sign up with me. And then you will see that marketing does make a difference. Mm-hmm. Because I understand that some people don't get into that. Like, they don't know that marketing works. But I'm like, but when you're like rude or like, freaking douchey to me when I'm like talking to you because you don't need marketing.
Right.
I'm like, dude, like, I'm just like, I mean, it was just a referral. Like, I just wanted to give you a call and see if you needed it. You don't have to be rude and be like, oh, I'm just this end all be all guy that like gets business for no reason. Like, okay, well, just wait and see, because another competitor is going to come down here and I'm going to get him as a client, and you're going to see that marketing does matter. Yeah. Which is the hard fact, because if it's not me, it's somebody else.
Yeah. I've absolutely stopped taking it personally. I'm just oh, okay, well, you know.
You can't take it personally. It's just like...
It's built into my pitch. I'm like, once someone else starts doing this, I just want you to keep this in mind, I say to my potential clients. Right. Keep this in mind. The first person who does start to innovate, the rest of the people will be chasing them down the pack. Exactly. You've seen it through technology. You've seen it through, the brand names that did it first or marketed it better first, whether they did it first or not, the ones who marketed it better first were the ones that now the standard has been set. And most of the time now their prices are up here and people pay for it because it's the quality thing.
The brand and everything
that way.
Exactly.
So, you know, and it does not matter if it's huge, giant corporations or a local
Right.
small community. That is business, and it's all the same.
Exactly. You know, yeah, I'm not saying it as like a vindictive way, like,
No,
like I'm gonna freaking shut you down.
It's
Like
straight up
it's
the
just
truth.
like,
It's like
if it's not me, if I get a competitor in your same area, and they agree to, you know, to market, like I'm okay. Like I always help people out. If there's people that bootstrap businesses, I always have like a hard, like I have a spot in my heart to help people.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, sometimes I'll do stuff for free, and I'm just like, listen, just let me help you
Same.
out, just because at the end of the day, you're gonna refer me
Absolutely.
to somebody else. But when you're just like rude to me because I'm a marketer and I'm telling you like, hey, like I can help you, and all because
scam
you're
artist
like,
you.
yeah, all because you think like you have your customer base and they're always gonna be there.
Right.
Like they're not. Because
No.
this area, even this small town, is not becoming a small town anymore. There is so many businesses opening up that your competition there is going to come here and just obliterate you if you don't do something.
Well, I've seen
Don't
it
care what
happen.
you do, just do something.
We've all seen it happen. Like
Yeah.
one new business shows up with a solid marketing strategy and a good brand, and they make a few posts, do a few things, and they are automatically swarmed to.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I've seen it with restaurants. I've seen it with some
Restaurants for
chiropractic.
sure.
I've seen it with some furniture stores.
Yes,
And
that's
with,
true.
and with us saying it's not personal, you know, us making the person know it's the same thing as, say, a person trying to sell a really nice couch or something.
Right.
A customer could walk by and they'd be like, well, you know, I don't need it. And then that salesman's like, well, this is the last one. And the person who buys
Right.
it is going to have it. You know, you may not think you need it, but it won't be available to you, and you'll have to wait forever to get it later.
Right.
You'll be playing the catch-up
Right.
game. You know, in that
like
that salesman telling them that is not wrong.
Right.
It's the facts.
Yes.
If you don't get it now, you may not be able to get it later.
Right. You know, like in now more than ever, dude, 2021, you need to do something. I don't care what business you're in. You need to do something.
Yeah.
I don't care if you pay a marketing company or not. It's just if you are not taking any baby step at least once a day for an hour at least to market your business, you are doing a disservice to your business in general, thinking that, you know, oh, I have it in the bag. I already got these clients. Like, no.
It's only going to get harder to catch up.
And if a market goes down or anything like that, dude, like the people that are putting in the money, dude, I always hit this thing. If the people that are putting in the money are going to, or the time, money or time, are going to reap the benefits of either a bad market or or not being taken over by competition. So pick your poison. Which one do you want? Which one do you want to be?
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
And that's why SEO is super important, man. So anybody listening, definitely do something. Just do one little thing, whether that's doing your list, Google My Business listing, posting a picture online, whatever the case may be. Anything helps.
Agreed.
So let's close out this segment now. So we're going to do this review for the Old Forester 1920 Prohibition style. I'm going to take a little bit more. I don't know if you do. Do you want a little bit more? I just want to get a nice little description. I don't know. It's like, dude, this is my favorite all-time bourbon I've ever had. It's just like, oh man. So at 115 proof. That's a lot.
It packs a punch.
It does,
sure.
and you can smell it, dude.
Straight off the get-go.
You can smell it, but it's sweet. Okay, so right off the bat, right when you sip on it, and this is without ice. Ice changes the flavor a little bit.
Yeah.
But without ice, just the bare bones, man, it's sweet initially.
I feel like I get a honey note.
Right,
kind of
yeah. It's I think it's the sugar in it that someone said marshmallows. I've heard people say marshmallow, snickerdoodle, and then also cacao or dark chocolate. But I don't taste I just taste it as sweet as if it's like
Yeah.
a cherry, like a
Yeah.
cherry-esque feeling. And then once like that cherry feeling goes away, it's like oak. I get the oak spice and
on the
and then the
back of the
hit
tongue,
of the
too.
115
Like,
proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of dances for a while because you can taste all the different layers of flavor. I still, the cherry, but for me, it's kind of like a I just get that little bit of honey right off the get go,
Right.
and then it's covered up by the high proof.
Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah, this is a good classic. So if you like classic bourbon, this is like a higher end classic bourbon. You cannot go wrong with this. I mean, this is like, so this is their style of like, they make this, I think like they don't tell you how much it sits in a barrel or how long, but I think it's like 6 to like 9 years or something. They don't disclose that obviously, but with their stuff, this is their style of how it would be in the Prohibition, which is kind of cool. It's very different. There's another one called Old Forester 1910, and that's that's a whole different freaking note, dude.
Right.
So I think I'm gonna bring that. I might bring that in for the next one.
Next week.
But
yeah.
This is my all-time go-to. You can't go wrong with it. It's like, everybody that I've had tried it is like, this shit's pretty good, dude.
I like it. It's really good clean too.
Yeah, no, I've
It'll be interesting when we get our first whiskey that isn't all that great clean.
Oh man, there will be.
Take a sip and we'll be like.
So I think what we're gonna do is what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna go for higher ends for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just so our first episodes are gonna go a little bit more smoothly.
Oh, I see what you with the smooth.
With the smoothness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But I have a scotch that I want to do next week. So,
All right.
I forgot the name of it.
Oh.
It's like Belvedere or some shit. I don't know. This is like scotch is newer to me. So like, bourbon's more my style. But so this scotch though is, I think it's like $92 for 750 ml bottle. So it's a little bit up there, but dude, it is so good. I've never had scotch before that.
Yeah.
I've always had rye and bourbon.
I'm
whiskey.
looking forward to it.
Dude, it's good. Like, so next week I'll bring that in, but Old Forester 1920, that's literally my all-time favorite. You cannot go wrong. It is getting a little bit more pricey. That's why I said 60, because like some places are selling it for $75 now for a bottle, which isn't too bad. I mean, dude, that's like this is a high quality freaking bourbon.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, you can tell there's real quality there.
Yeah, I love it. So,
And what's our topic next week?
So next week, I want to talk more about PPC because I know we briefly talked about it in the last episode, but that was just brief, just like that they need it. But I kind of want to go into more like the platform-esque stuff because with everybody moving here, so, I mean, there's like tens of thousands of people in downtown every freaking weekend, right? And it's not even summer. It's not even June.
Yeah.
And
the boom is here. Business is back.
Dude, so
COVID numbers are down and things are
things
going
are just
to be
crazy.
even crazier than they were before.
Mm-hmm.
So
all cylinders firing out here in North Idaho. But dude, I'm telling you, like, paid advertising is gonna be so freaking key out here. Like, if you're not on one platform at least doing paid advertising, you are losing so much money. I don't care who you are, right? You need to at least be on the top of mind in terms of your business out here, dude, in paid advertising.
Well, and that's a pretty overarching topic too, because we'll probably dabble in ad design, psychology, strategy,
video
but then
production.
break that all into other episodes down the line. So it'll be an important one to tune into.
Yeah. So next week, tune in next week. So that's going to be, so SEO super important. I'm take a lot of stuff we said. If you have any questions too, feel free to DM either of us at Miller Media Co. Pulse Productions. We will be happy to help answer anybody's questions in terms of SEO or anything else in particular. But in terms of next week's episode, it's going to matter to pretty much 99% of the businesses out here, no matter where you are, who you are, or what you do.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, it's going to be big. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys listening to this episode of Whiskey and Business. Feel free to reach out to us. Again, I'm Josh, and this is Travis. And we look forward to you listening to our next podcasts next week. Also, stay tuned for clips coming out on our social media channels that we're going to kind of like take away from the episodes and then upload them additionally too.
Highlights.
And then if you have any recommendations for some good whiskeys, it doesn't matter if it's a Scotch, rye, or bourbon, let us know. I'll go to the store, grab it out of your request, and I'll give you a shout out for recommending it. Yeah, so thanks, guys. I appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.
See you next week.